Dear learners, welcome back to WSE True Stories, where English learning becomes an unforgettable adventure. Today's journey will take us into the heart of India's fight for freedom. But more than that, it will bring you face to face with a man who defeated an empire without raising a single sword. A man whose quiet strength, unshakable will, and commitment to truth changed the destiny of millions. His name? Mahatma Gandhi. He wasn't born into greatness. He didn't command armies. He didn't hold political power in the traditional sense. And yet, through nonviolence and soul force, he challenged one of the mightiest empires in history, and won. This is not just a story, it's a lesson in how inner power can overcome outer oppression. As you listen, you'll not only improve your English, but you'll also discover courage, humility, and the true meaning of freedom. So, get ready for one of the most powerful and motivational stories ever told. Let's start the journey. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born on October 2, 1869, in the small princely state of Porbandar, nestled in the coastal region of Gujarat, India. His family belonged to the Vaishya caste, merchants and administrators by tradition. His father, Karamchand, served as the Diwan, or chief minister, of the local ruler. A serious man known for his integrity, Karamchand instilled in young Mohandas a strong sense of justice and discipline. His mother, Putlabai, was deeply religious and devoted to a life of prayer, fasting, and compassion. Her gentle soul, unwavering faith, and quiet strength would leave a lasting impression on the boy's heart. In that household, where Jainism, Hinduism, and tolerance mingled, Gandhi absorbed early lessons of nonviolence, self-restraint, and respect for all living beings. Yet, nothing about his early childhood suggested he would one day lead a nation. At school, Mohandas was shy and average in his studies. He struggled to speak in public, avoided confrontation, and preferred to stay out of the spotlight. But beneath that timid exterior lay a fierce curiosity and a conscience that paid close attention to right and wrong. His early life was marked by contradictions. He was a quiet observer in a society plagued by loud injustices. India, during this time, was not the independent nation we know today. It was a mosaic of princely states under British colonial rule, where exploitation, racial discrimination, and economic oppression were part of daily life. Still, young Gandhi had yet to grasp the full weight of that injustice. It wasn't until he traveled to London at the age of 18 to study law that his understanding of the world began to expand. There, among the grey fog and formality of British life, he struggled to find his footing. He tried hard to fit in, even adopting a vegetarian lifestyle more from conviction than convenience, a decision that forced him to stand apart. He read sacred texts from different traditions, the Gita, the Bible, the works of Tolstoy, and slowly, a seed began to grow, the idea that truth was not just something spoken, but something lived. But it was in South Africa, not India, where that seed would first sprout into resistance. In 1893, Gandhi accepted a legal assignment that would take him to the British colony of Natal. He was only 23 years old, full of hope and ambition. What he did not expect was to be thrown off a train in Pietermaritzburg simply for being Indian and refusing to move from a first-class seat reserved for whites. That moment, humiliating, cold, and unjust, was the spark. In that single act of racism, Gandhi found a cause. He would later write that it was in South Africa that he found himself. For the next 21 years, Gandhi remained in South Africa, no longer just a lawyer, but a fighter for civil rights. He organized protests against discriminatory laws, mobilized the Indian community, and introduced a revolutionary concept, satyagraha, or truth force. It was a form of resistance rooted in nonviolence, love, and unwavering commitment to justice. It was not passive, it was not weak. It was the courage to stand firm without striking back. But even as he began this journey, greater battles awaited. When Gandhi returned to India in 1915, he was greeted with admiration by some and skepticism by others. He was still an outsider to the Indian political scene, a lawyer activist from abroad with strange ideas about spinning cloth and fasting. Yet, what he saw in India, the poverty, the oppression, the silent suffering of millions, stirred his soul. The colonial system had robbed people not just of wealth, but of dignity. Gandhi believed that political freedom was meaningless without moral awakening. And so, he began his next fight, not against the British government, but for the soul of his own people. But this was only the beginning. The struggle for India's independence would test Gandhi in ways he could never have imagined. Betrayals, imprisonments, and violent outbreaks would follow. Could nonviolence survive in a world ruled by might? In the next part of the story, we'll follow Gandhi as he takes on the British Empire itself, with nothing but truth in his hands. Stay with us, the most intense chapter is about to unfold. When Gandhi stepped fully into the Indian independence movement, the air was thick with fear and frustration. The British Raj held firm control, and while opposition voices were growing louder, they often turned to violence out of desperation. But Gandhi offered something radically different, a path of peaceful resistance that promised not revenge, but redemption. He didn't just want to oust the British. He wanted to rebuild the Indian spirit, starting from the villages upward. And to do that, he had to win people's hearts. So he did something remarkable, he became like them. Gandhi renounced the privileges of the English-educated elite. He traded his Western clothes for a simple dhoti, spun his own cloth, walked barefoot, and lived in an ashram. To some, it seemed like a step backward, but to the masses, it was a statement, I am one of you. He believed that India's soul lay not in its cities but in its villages, and its future depended not on foreign goods, but on self-reliance. He encouraged Indians to boycott British products, especially cloth, and instead spin their own. This wasn't just economic defiance, it was spiritual empowerment. Millions began to follow him, not because he was loud, but because he was consistent, humble, and unwavering in his values. But Gandhi's true trial came in 1919, when a horrific event shocked the nation. In the city of Amritsar, British troops under General Dyer fired without warning on a peaceful gathering of Indians, men, women, and children, trapped inside a walled garden. Hundreds died. It was a massacre, and it tore the veil off British rule. Gandhi, devastated, responded not with hatred, but with greater determination. He called for a nationwide campaign of non-cooperation. Schools, courts, and jobs under British control were to be abandoned. It was the first time the whole country moved together as one. Suddenly, Gandhi wasn't just a voice, he was the heartbeat of a nation. Still, the movement was fragile. In 1922, when a group of angry protesters killed 22 policemen in Chauri Chaura, Gandhi halted the campaign. Critics called him naive. Supporters were dismayed. But Gandhi knew, if freedom came at the cost of violence, it wouldn't be true freedom. He withdrew from politics for a time, choosing to fast, reflect, and realign. To him, self-control was more powerful than control over others. Years passed. Gandhi returned to the political stage in the 1930s, as colonial repression continued. He pushed for equality not just for Indians, but also for the untouchables, whom he called Harijans, children of God. But even within his own movement, this drew backlash. His dedication to unity was constantly tested, by radicals, by moderates, by the British, and even by members of his own faith. Then came the turning point that would etch Gandhi's name into world history, the Salt March. In 1930, the British had made it illegal for Indians to collect or sell salt, forcing them to buy heavily taxed salt from the colonial government. Gandhi saw this tiny crystal not just as a commodity, but as a symbol of tyranny. And so, at the age of 60, he walked 240 miles on foot to the Arabian Sea, followed by thousands, to make his own salt. It was simple, peaceful, and devastatingly effective. The world watched as a frail man in sandals shattered the illusion of imperial invincibility. The British responded with arrests. Over 60,000 people were imprisoned, including Gandhi. But it was too late. The march had lit a fire no jail could contain. Gandhi's method, truth and nonviolence, was working. Yet the path forward was far from clear. In the 1940s, as World War II consumed the globe, India's struggle entered its final, most chaotic phase. The British were weakened, but desperate to hold on. The Quit India movement of 1942 saw Gandhi arrested once more, along with many leaders of the Indian National Congress. This time, the repression was brutal. Gandhi's health declined. His wife, Kasturba, died in prison. The pain was immense. And still, Gandhi refused to hate. When he was released, Gandhi emerged into an India deeply divided, by religion, by class, by wounds inflicted both by colonizers and each other. Independence was close, but so was disaster. Hindu-Muslim tensions were boiling over. And Gandhi knew, the soul of the nation was at stake. The climax had arrived. Would Gandhi's vision of a united, peaceful India survive the storm of partition? Would nonviolence still be enough when brothers turned against brothers? In the next part of the story, we'll witness Gandhi face his greatest heartbreak yet, a nation free but fractured. And we'll see how, even in the face of darkness, he held on to light. Stay with us. The most emotional part of Gandhi's journey is just ahead. India was on the verge of independence, but the air was not filled with joy, it trembled with fear and sorrow. As the British prepared to leave, tensions between Hindus and Muslims spiraled out of control. The dream Gandhi had nurtured for decades, of a united, inclusive India, was slipping away. Talks of partition grew louder. The land he loved was being split in two, India and Pakistan. And with that line came blood. Violence erupted across the subcontinent. Neighbors became enemies. Trains full of refugees arrived with no living passengers, only silence and death. Gandhi was heartbroken. He hadn't spent his life fighting one empire just to see his people destroy each other. He pleaded for peace, fasted to calm riots, and walked among both Hindus and Muslims to prove that unity was still possible. At nearly 80 years old, his body frail, Gandhi remained a pillar of strength, an old man trying to hold back a tidal wave with nothing but the truth in his heart. August 15, 1947. India was finally free. The British flag was lowered. But Gandhi did not join the celebration. For him, it was a day of mourning. Partition had claimed nearly 1 million lives and displaced millions more. Gandhi knew that political freedom had come, but spiritual freedom was still a distant dream. He spent his final months in the streets, not in parliament, walking barefoot through villages, fasting for peace, and urging forgiveness. And then, the unimaginable happened. On January 30th, 1948, as Gandhi walked through the garden of Birla House in Delhi, a man stepped forward from the crowd and shot him. The Mahatma collapsed, whispering "Hey Ram," a final prayer. The man who had taught the world to fight with love had fallen to hate. The earth seemed to hold its breath. But Gandhi did not die. Not really. His ideas of nonviolence, truth, humility, and compassion spread across the world. Martin Luther King Jr. carried his torch in America's civil rights movement. Nelson Mandela drew strength from him in the struggle against apartheid. Millions still study his teachings today, finding courage in his quiet strength. Gandhi's legacy is not just in what he accomplished, but in how he did it. He defeated the largest empire of his time without lifting a sword. He transformed salt into a weapon of resistance, silence into a statement, fasting into protest, and simplicity into a revolution. He taught us that the most powerful force on earth is not violence, but a conscience awakened by love. So what can we take from his story? We live in a world where anger is loud, division is common, and the pressure to win often overshadows the call to do what's right. Gandhi's life reminds us that true strength lies in patience, in standing up without striking back, and in choosing peace even when every muscle screams for revenge. You don't need an army to change the world. Sometimes, all you need is a clear heart, a strong will, and the courage to walk alone, for others. Dear learners, thank you for staying with us on this journey through Gandhi's extraordinary life. We hope his story moved your heart and inspired your spirit. If his message touched you, share his story. Let it remind others that peace is still a choice. And if you found this helpful for your English practice, please like, comment, and subscribe, because every story we tell brings you closer to language, history, and your best self. Until next time, keep learning, keep dreaming, and keep believing in the power of love. Goodbye for now.